get tabs and backing tracks to practice along to this lesson, if you go to my website, www.erickhaugenguitar.com. Let's briefly talk about the equipment I'm using to make the sounds I'm making. This is an early 2000s Epiphone Emperor Regent big old hollow body guitar, stock pickup, has this little bass cut toggle that I actually have engaged right now. Not much of a difference actually. Yeah, I'll leave it on. I'm going into my board using my Strymon Deco for some tape saturation effect. My Strymon Flint for some reverb in the room. Thank you to Rode Microphones for helping me out with this beautiful NTR ribbon mic that I'm using. And there's a link in the description portion of this video that kind of will walk you through all the various things that I'm using in my signal chain to get these sounds. Now, this is a playing to changes lesson. This is a blues, a 12-bar blues. Let's go through it. We got an A. We got a D. We got an A. We got an E. We got an A. It's going to go through that standard 12-bar blues form. If you're not super solid on your 12-bar blues form, I highly recommend it. You know, there's just so many songs that come from that form that you want to just have it inside, outside, upside down, right side out, inside out, forwards, backwards, awake, sleeping, etc. It's just such an essential piece of the puzzle that you don't want there to be any doubt in your mind about how it works. And so I have some lessons where I talk about various strategies for as a rock player, we want to play to changes. And so this is aiming for the thirds inside of those chord changes of our 12-bar blues to get those sounds. So let me walk you through what I'm doing here. On an A chord, again, you know, if you've watched other of my videos, I just use basic bar chord theory to find these sounds. That's just a standard A bar chord. I'm going to specifically be aiming for this C sharp tone right here, which is my 6th fret of my G string. And so I construct a lick that is. Now that is, you know, that's a classic rockabilly or even country lick, depending on what you want to call it. Let's look at it. Flat at the 5s. Flat at those 7s, flat at that 5, but hammering on to that 6th. I feel out of tune. Let me check again. Okay, fine, whatever. Tuner says it's okay. It's close enough. Okay, so again, flat at the 5s. Flat at those 7 and 7s, 5 and 5 hammered to 6 and 6. And so I'm seeing this chord, and of course I'm also aware of my standard blues scale, or a first pentatonic minor. And of course if we add the flatted 5th. So that's in there too, all those sounds. And I can't do the same thing over and over again, but you could. I did a little double bend there, and on this guitar you can barely get it very far. These are flat wound 12s, big thick strings. So you're flat across 7 and 7 on the G and the B. Notice you had death grip, flat, flat, flat. Some people try and do that. You might be able to, you know, there's no one way to do things. But that's how I do it. And then I'm at that 4th bar, and here's where it gets tricky. Like, you need to develop, or I recommend developing the ability to kind of have a portion of your brain that's the conductor, that's going, hey man, the next chord's coming up, so you might want to start thinking about heading towards that. So, the next chord's a D. Now, or D7. Specifically, my brain is thinking of this D9 form. the James Brown chord, which is 5, 4, 5, 5, 5. There's the third. The fourth fret of my D string is the F sharp, the third of the chord. The third is the sweet note. That's the meat of the chord. You know, that's the soft belly of the chord that you wanna get in there and give it a pat. So you can do anything really. Usually, you know, I would probably do something in the realm of, let's see, you know, probably just a little, just something simple that keeps me near it, so that near when that downbeat comes, I can get to that F sharp. So let's see, I would do a lick that was like, so that was, yeah, 7, 5, 7, 7, 7, 5, downbeat. Ah, there it is. And you'll feel like if you play along to the backing track, you'll feel when you land it. Now, because I see this chord here, that means I know I can do these fives over here. The third is great, and I established that. That's what I do, a very rockabilly kind of sounding lick. So let's see, I land on that, go right back to my 7, my 5, my 5. I'm going to use this 8 here, my flatted 5th. Great little lick. Yeah, that's very Brian Setzer. 7, 5, 5, 8, 7, 5, 5, and again, oh, it's over. It's going back to this chord. So then when I know it's going back to that chord, there's the third of that chord. So again, the D. Yeah. There's the lick. Yeah. And then it's changing back. That in itself is, you know, all these, you know, you just take one and work at, or make up your own, really. That's how I did them. I'm just looking for those thirds and then kind of try and land them. And then just kind of messing around with that very kind of happy, rockabilly sounding thing. 5, 6, 5, 5, 7, 5. And again, you'll hear that a lot. This, by the way, these licks all work great if you're playing a blues that's over major chords. If it was a minor key blues, completely different rules. So just be aware of that. You can't always get away with playing so happily. That's a very happy sound, but yeah, very good sound. Yeah, that's just 5, 7, 5, and that's still all to that chord. Now, turnaround portion of the blues, E7. And that, yep, here's an E7. It's just a C7 moved way up. Great form to know if you don't use it too much. I got it from Chet Atkins. I noticed when he goes up to do an E7 chord, he'll do it like that. And, you know, he can do all this crazy stuff. Been a while since I practiced that, but yeah, he can do all sorts of cool stuff. Yeah, good job, Eric. Now, the third is over here. Here's that sweet note again, which is the G sharp. Now, I don't aim for that one, but I could if I needed to. And it's like you can hear the chords when you play this way. But what I do the first time through is I actually, well, I aim for this, the next octave up of it. If that's a G sharp, there's the next G sharp, which is out of the blues scale. It's not really there. It is on the 9th fret. Now, a lot of blues players, they'll just kind of bend the, which is a great little look. That's why you'll hear that note a lot at the turnaround portion of the blues, because it's accidentally, they're aiming for the third of the 5 chord. Which led me to do a slightly more, you know, rockabilly take on it. I'm aiming for. That's actually the 5th of the E. That's a B note. I just go 7. I push this 7 up, which is kind of, it gets near the third, but it ends up being a flat third. But you're allowed to do that. And then I just walk my way down the scale. Actually down a major scale. 5/5, 7/7, 6/6, 4/4, yeah. Back up again, that little thing, and then, you know, I just end up doing some third stuff, kind of Chuck Berry, which then therefore influenced J.D. McPherson. Up here, 10 and 9. That's, by the way, A, C sharp, there's the third. Dropping down 1, because I know I can get away with that, that's the flat 7, that's the 9. Back to that shape. Oh, look at that. Yep, again, based off of that shape. Does it again. When it drops to that D, I go flat at the 5 and 5 because I'm seeing that D9 chord. And then probably, knowing me, I did that guy again, that cool little flatted 5th. Another one of that, I think it's the same run. And that time around, again, sometimes, you know, that time, I let my creativity take me to this 9th chord here for the E. So instead of thinking of this shape, I was just thinking of that James Brown shape. And I think I just do 6, 7, 7, 7. That's fun. Yep, flat across and use my pinky to get up there and get that 9. And then a big run down my A. Let's look at that. A lot of times when I do big runs, what they secretly are just 2 octaves of the same thing over and over again, which is what this is. Again, we're back on an A at that part. 5/5, then this little 7, and then a little blues 7/7. That 5 to 6 again, aiming for that third. That's the first octave. Second octave, I need a few more notes to fill, so yeah, I did a little pull off. 7, 5, 7. Very similar lick. I got lost. Yeah. Yeah, so we got 7, 7, 5, 4, 7, 0, 5, 0, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Oh yeah, and there's 3 more at the end. 5, 0, 5, 3, 0, 5, that lick again. And there you have my take on that. So in review, 12-bar blues, key. This is, know your 12-bar blues super well in a variety of standard guitar keys. Again, a review of the shapes I'm seeing. That A shape, that D shape, that E shape, that E shape. And so what I'm trying to do here, and like I do in other videos, is help kind of open us up from, I like playing in the box too, but I know what it is to feel really bored with, our usual. It doesn't, sometimes you're like, there's got to be what's that fluidity that I hear like the experts do? And, I don't purport to be an expert, but that's what they're doing. They're aiming for those thirds, and who's really good as well? Setzer, J.D. McPherson, Hendrix, so many guys. All the greats are good at this. Jimmy Page, Clapton, Jeff Beck, all the classic blues guitar players. B.B. King, really good at this. Freddie King, Freddie King does it too. Yeah, all the classic blues players do this, whether or not super intentionally or intuitively, it's what's happening. I hope that's helpful and makes sense for you. Take your time with it, see where it leads you, have fun with it. Thanks so much for watching.